You know, in the world of business, a written promise is, well, it's just paper, right? Until you take one really crucial step. Today, we're going to break down that exact step, presentment for acceptance. This is the legal move that transforms a simple IOU into an absolutely ironclad obligation. And that really is the core question, isn't it? So picture this. You're holding a bill of exchange, which, let's be real, is just a fancy IOU, a formal order for someone to pay you. How do you, activate it? How do you get the other person to officially go on the record and say, yep, I am legally bound to pay this? Well, that's exactly what this whole process is designed to do. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the absolute basics. Then we'll dive into those high-stakes situations where you have to do this. After that, we'll get into the playbook, the rules of time and place, figure out who's who, and finally, we'll get to the moment of truth, acceptance or dishonor. Okay, let's jump right in. First things first, what in the world are we even talking about when we use this word presentment? So the easiest way to think about it is like an official knock on the door. You're not actually asking for the money just yet. All you're doing is showing the bill to the drawee. That's the person who owes the money. And your goal is to get them to sign on the dotted line. See, that signature is the magic moment that turns a piece of paper into their legally binding promise. And hey, just so you know where all this is coming from, we're actually building this entire explainer by pulling the rules straight from these really detailed legal notes. We're going right to the source here to give you the most essential step-by-step guide we can. Okay, so you've got this bill in your hand. Do you always have to go through this whole formal song and dance of presentment for acceptance? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's no, not always. But, and this is a big but, there are some very specific, really high-stakes situations where it's absolutely mandatory. Yeah, for a lot of bills, say one that clearly says payable on June 1st, you don't really need this step. The due date is already set in stone, right? You can just show up on June 1st and ask it to get paid. So in that case, acceptance is totally optional. But these three scenarios are the absolute game changers. Number one, if a bill says it's payable, say, 30 days after sight, well, you have to present it. That's what starts the 30-day countdown. Second, if the bill itself just flat out says you have to, well, then you have no choice. And third, if it's supposed to be paid at a location that isn't the drowee's normal home or office, you've got to present it to get their official okay on that. Okay, so let's say you're in one of those situations where you have to present it. The big question is, how do you do it correctly? Because, and I'm not kidding here, getting this wrong can literally make that bill worthless. The rules about time and place are super strict, so let's open up the playbook. It all circles back to that one key phrase, after sight. If you see those words on a bill, it basically means the due date is a total mystery until you show up and present it. The exact moment you present it is what fixes the maturity date. In plain English, it officially starts the clock ticking. So when exactly do you have to do this? Well, the law is pretty clear. There's a sort of pecking order. Rule 1, if there's a time frame written on the bill, you follow that. Simple. Rule 2, if there's no time specified, you have to do it within a reasonable time. And what's reasonable really depends on the situation. And finally, no matter what, it has to be on a business day and during business hours. Yeah, showing up at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, that's not going to work. And if you're wondering why this is such a big deal, here's a perfect real-world example. There was a case where someone just sat on a bill for 5 months before presenting it. The court came back and said, nope, that's an unreasonable delay. And the result? It was catastrophic. The bill was suddenly worthless, and even worse, all the other people who might have backed it up were completely let off the hook. The law is this strict for a reason. Those other parties can't be left hanging in financial limbo for months on end. All right, so that covers the when. Now let's talk about the where. It's pretty straightforward. If a specific place is written on the bill, you have to go there. End of story. And if you go there and can't find the person after looking around, the bill is officially considered dishonored. Now, if no place is mentioned, you just go to their office or their home. And believe it or not, sometimes you can even just pop it in the mail. Okay, we've got the time and the place figured out. But who are the actual players in this little legal dance? I mean, who has to physically show the bill, and who's the one who needs to see it? Fundamentally, it's pretty simple. The holder, that's you, the person who's supposed to get paid, has to present the bill to the drawee, the person who's supposed to do the paying. Or, you can each have your agents do it for you. But of course, life isn't always that simple, is it? So what happens in weird situations? Well, if there are a few different drawees, you've got to present it to all of them, unless they're business partners.
What if the drawee has passed away? Then you go to their legal representative. And some bills even have a backup plan, a drawee in need, who you only go to if the main person says no.
So, you've done everything by the book. You're at the right place at the right time, you're in front of the right person, you present the bill. So, what happens now? This right here is the moment of truth. All right, I want you to remember one number, 48. Once you've presented that bill, the drawee gets exactly 48 hours, not counting public holidays, of course, to decide what they're going to do. And here's the really important part. In this situation, no news is absolutely bad news. If that 48-hour clock runs out and you've heard nothing, you don't just wait around. You have to immediately treat that bill as dishonored. That's the official legal term for them saying no. Okay, but let's say they do accept. They can do it in one of two ways. First, you have what's called a general acceptance. This is the dream scenario. It's a clean, simple, yes, I will pay this exactly as it's written. But then, you have a qualified acceptance, which is basically them saying, yes, but. So a qualified acceptance is any kind of acceptance that tries to change the original deal. Maybe they say they'll only pay part of the money, or they make the payment conditional on something else happening, or they try to change the date or location. Any of those things is basically a counteroffer. Okay, and right here, this is a massive warning, a huge red flag. If you, as the holder, decide to accept one of these qualified acceptances, you are taking on a huge risk. If you agree to their new terms without getting permission from everyone else who signed the bill before, then all those other people are legally off the hook. You've just let them walk away. And that leaves us with a final, really critical question you have to think about. Sure, getting an acceptance feels like a win. But if that yes comes with a bunch of strings attached, you've really got to ask yourself, are you actually locking in your payment? Or are you accidentally letting all the people who were supposed to have your back off the hook?